Today's show is brought to you by Bruce Fine Construction. If you can't find the house to buy, maybe it's time to build your house. Bruce built my home, and I know he can build your home too. Check him out today at brucefineconstruction.com or call at 570-362-1185. This episode is brought to you today by Whitehall Mortgage. Where there's a will, there's a Whitehall. Buying a home starts by getting a pre-approval, and nobody does it better than Doug in Dallas. Call them today at 570-562-7505 or apply online at whitehallmortgagefinancial.com. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Wychak. I'm the host of the Real Estate Right Now podcast, but today we're here at the Downtown Real Estate Academy. I'm not only a podcast host and a real estate broker, I'm actually the owner and the director of this school. And today what you're going to see on our next few episodes here is our pre-licensing students going through a class, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it is that I do as a teacher, and it's a great look at people who are interested in starting a career in real estate, which I know there's a lot of you out there. Hopefully this will answer a bunch of questions for you. Down at the bottom, again, this is the thing that probably causes me more grief in this business than anything else. Real estate documents and escrow requirements. All right, the Act and the regulations prescribed mandatory language that must appear in certain written documents licensees use. The big one is the consumer notice. We'll talk about that in another section of the book, mentioned a little bit here. But here you see a couple different things, section 608 A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth, what they do. We're just going to go right into it, right? Timeshare and campground membership contracts. This could be a test question for you. Section 609 of the RELRA gives purchasers timeshare and campground memberships the right to cancel a purchase. All right? So if you buy a timeshare or a campground membership, you can cancel it. The cancellation right exists until midnight of the 5th day following the date on which a purchaser executed a contract. Next paragraph, the right to cancel notice must be printed conspicuously, meaning easy to find, in boldface type immediately above the signature of the purchaser and be separately initialed. All right, and there it is. Within 10 days after the receipt of notice of cancellation, all payments made under the contract must be refunded to the purchaser, and an acknowledgement that the contract is void and must be sent to the purchaser. Why is that? Timeshare is a high pressure sale, right? So anybody here ever go on a timeshare presentation? It's pressure, right? And like, they'll even give you stuff. Hey, come listen to us for 90 minutes. We'll give you a free toaster just for listening. You're like, oh. And yeah, right. You're like, I like toast. Yeah. And then 90 minutes later, you now own a timeshare. And you're like, whoa, not sure if I really wanted to buy this timeshare. You have 5 days to cancel it. All right? It's a reason why, I said if you own a timeshare, own it in Disney. It's the one thing that you could probably move. People from all over the world want it, right? Want to go there. So if you're going to buy one, that's the one to buy. But and I know this because I've done it, but if you buy Disney timeshare, 2 days later, they send you a little free gift. Like if you're staying in Disney, hey, just wanted to remind you, thanks so much. Here's a picture of Mickey Mouse. You're like, oh, cool. You know why? They want you to feel good about your purchase. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I'm going to tell you what. I know someone. How about this? You want to talk about wild? I know someone. So it's kind of like a dead profession. But telemarketers, right? When I was in college, buddies of mine, they worked as telemarketers. So what did they do? They were the person that would call people. Now with the do not call, it's too hard to do anymore. But what they would do is they would sit in an office. You ever know why people work in a call center? You can do that at home. You have a phone, right? You go to a call center, you make phone calls. You can do that at home. You can call people from home or the school or an office, am I correct? So why do they have call centers? Because the job sucks so bad. It's easier to do if you're in a room with people doing the same thing you are. It's horrible. It's a miserable job. People curse at you, hang up the phone, slam it in your ear. You can't do that from home. I know a guy who works at a local vacation place, and he works in a call center. They actually call it the spirit in the room. They have a name for that, literally, because it sucks. And if you have to do it from home, you'll quit. But if everyone here is doing the same terrible thing, it's less terrible.
It's a little bit fun.
Yeah, right. You're like, all right, whatever. Maybe someone has something that happens funny and then she tells a story. Oh, you go home. You're never going to believe what happened to Mary. Oh. It makes it less terrible if you're all doing it together. If you're doing it by yourself, it's suffering.
Wow.
That's why they pay for call centers. So I had a buddy sold timeshare. He actually didn't sell timeshare. He was the person calling. Hey, if you go to this vacation spot, they'll give you a free VCR. Just go. You know what? Like, he was technically, I don't know what they call it. His real name was like telephone marketing associate, something like that. But you know what they called them inside of, you know what they were called? Grave diggers.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they were literally, like, the point is, they just had to get people there. And then the people who were really the sharks in sales sold people timeshares that in many cases they didn't even want. So because of that, timeshare and campground membership contracts you have to be able to cancel them. Because sometimes it's such high pressure, you go, yeah, okay, I'll take it. And you go home and you're like, I don't really want it. Yeah, they have to give you the right to cancel it. You do have to know that. That could be a question. So if you buy a timeshare, you can cancel it up to 5 days. All right? Brutally tough job. Section 35-281 of the regulations require that licensees who act in a representative capacity in a real estate transaction ensure that all sales or lease contracts, commitments, and agreements, regardless of the transaction, are in writing. Obviously, we've gone over that numerous times. In order for it to count in real estate, it has to be in writing. Know what the statute of frauds is that states that all contracts must be in writing. If it's not in writing, it does not exist. Now, third paragraph. A salesperson or associate broker who receives a deposit or any escrow money must immediately turn the funds over to the employing broker. Then the broker must deposit these funds by the end of business the following day. However, if the funds are in the form of a check in connection with with an offer to buy or lease real estate, then the broker may hold the check until the offer is accepted, at which time the check must be deposited into the trust account by the end of the next banking day. It used to be, and I don't see this anymore, but it used to be if you made an offer on a property, when you sent the offer, because a lot of times they were hard copy offers, you would include the earnest money deposit check with the offer. If I received that, God bless you, if I received that as a broker, I could hold it in case the offer isn't accepted. If the offer was not accepted, I could send that check back. But once the offer was accepted, I had to have that deposited by the next business day. I'm sorry, yeah, you know what I mean. What does it say? By the end of the next banking day. Yes, not business day, they say banking day. Right, because it depends, right? Because banks have weird hours, you know, every federal holiday. It's a business day for me, maybe not for them, but that's how it works. So, although that has kind of died away. No, I shouldn't say no one. It's very rare to receive an earnest money deposit check without an accepted offer anymore. Next paragraph down, it says the escrow account must be used exclusively for escrow purposes. The broker may not commingle these monies with the broker's business or personal funds, nor may the broker misappropriate money that should be held in escrow with the broker's business or personal funds. All right, So in other words, I could have $100,000 sitting in my escrow account. I can't touch it. It's not mine. Right? If you do that as a broker, you're losing your license. I do know someone that happened to. They were out of the business for 5 years. They did reapply. They are a salesperson, but they can no longer be a broker. And it puts a lot of people out of business, so it just doesn't work. Now, responsibility for deposits. If a sales deposit is tendered by a buyer to the listing broker rather than the selling broker, the listing broker assumes the escrow duty. If the sales deposit is tendered by a buyer to the selling broker tenders the responsibility. We don't really see that much. Usually in our section of Pennsylvania, it's traditionally the listing brokerage that holds escrow. Not always, but it's so uncommon that when they don't, it's usually stated in the MLS listing, broker does not accept escrow money, please allow the buyer broker to hold it or send it directly to title or whatever it may be. Deadlines for deposits. A broker is responsible, this is a question. A broker is responsible for depositing the funds in escrow by the end of the next business day following receipt. In the case of multiple office firms, the deadline applies to receipt by the office out of which the account is administered. All right. Withdrawal of funds. A broker must retain all funds in the escrow account until the transaction is consummated or terminated. Consummation is simple to identify if, in the case of the agreement of sale, the sale proceeds to settlement and the seller delivers title. However, there are situations following the signing of an agreement which a dispute arises between parties and the sale does not proceed to closing. The broker is not permitted to determine who gets the money in the event of a dispute. If the parties do not sign documents authorizing the release of escrow funds, the broker must maintain the escrow money until the dispute is resolved and the parties agree to whom the deposit money belongs. If resolution of the dispute appears remote without legal action, the broker may, following 365 days notice to the parties, petition the court to interplead the rival complaints. The broker may not approve any part of the earnest money as compensation as the broker's commission. Sometimes your buyers will say, or someone will say, hey, the buyer backed out according to the contract, so they want their deposit money back. Seller has to agree. Or sometimes someone will say, hey, look, the buyer backed out and they weren't allowed to, so the seller should get the deposit. I don't get to make that determination as the broker. They have to agree. If they don't agree, it could go to mediation, and they can tell you how it gets split up. But sometimes escrow deposits can be really weird. The moral of the story is, never write it out of your escrow account unless you have a closed transaction, agreement from the buyer and the seller, or a judgment saying how it gets dispersed. Follow those 3 rules, you should be okay. Relationships between licensees and consumers. All right. This is one of those things that we'll talk about, the consumer notice. I'll just touch on them briefly. The following definitions on page 199 explain the permissible roles for which a licensee in a real estate transaction. I'll let you read them on your own, but you have a consumer, a principal, a seller agent, a sub-agent, a listing broker, a dual agent, a designated agent, and a transactions licensee. And there you see the consumer notice. It says the broker ultimately determines the role or roles that the licensees employed by that broker are permitted to assume. We will talk about the consumer notice. It is a mandatory form on every sale, whether you represent the buyer or the seller. we'll get into that a little bit more. On the bottom of page 200, general ethical responsibilities.
Wow, this is a big.
It's a banger. It is. It's a long chapter. It's why we only do one, not two. General ethical responsibilities. Misleading advice, assurances, and representations. Section 35-282 of the regulation states that licensees may not give assurances or advice concerning any aspect of a real estate transaction that they know is incorrect, inaccurate, or improbable. This includes information it is reasonable to believe that a licensee should know. Licensees may not knowingly be a party to a materially false or inaccurate representation in a written document regarding a real estate transaction when acting in a representative capacity. So if you intentionally deceive or provide false information, you're going to lose your license. Conflict of interest may arise. Section 35-283 states that licensees must disclose any ownership interest they have in a property involved in a real estate transaction in which they are participating. So once you get your license, you can sell your own house. But you have to tell people you're a licensed agent. Any property that you have an ownership interest in, you have to tell people. You can buy properties as a licensed realtor, but you have to tell people, the seller, that you are a licensed realtor if you intend to buy a property. Disclosure of real estate affiliations because the franchise network or other parent real estate company with which a broker is affiliated is not part of the licensee name. Section 35-285 of the regulations require that the commission be notified of an affiliation. Advertising or solicitation. A licensee, this is a test question. A licensee may not advertise, solicit prospective buyers or tenants or place for sale or for rent sign on a property without the written consent of the owner. Should be obvious, you'd be surprised. Business name. When advertising a property for sale or rent, the broker's business name as it appears on the license must appear in the ad. Blind ads, which are advertisements by a broker without including the broker's business name, are prohibited. Advertising by a broker's licensee must include the business name of the employing broker, the business name of the broker, and the broker's phone number must appear in the same size, type, or prominence as that of the employee if the employee's name and phone number appear. If a licensee uses a nickname, that name must be filed with the real estate commission. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see in real estate. And I see it on social media all the time. Once you get your license, you know, what is an ad? Could be anything. Anything with a business name, right? So I say this all the time. If you're going, like once you have your real estate license and you want to talk about buying or selling houses, hey, it's a great time to buy, give me a call, and then you put your phone number there. You have to put the brokerage that you work at, their name, and their phone number as well. Sometimes agents get, they get upset about that. How come I have to do that? That's crazy. It's not my rule. It's the commission, right? So if you work at my brokerage and you want to tell people, hey, if you're thinking about buying or selling, give me a call. Here's my number. My brokerage name and the phone number for the office has to be on that too.
And bigger.
Same size is okay. It doesn't have to be bigger, but it has to be the same size and prominence. That gets a little wiggly sometimes, right? But to keep it simple, when I wrote all my papers in school, it was Times New Roman, right? Until I got to college, and I think I used Comic Sans because it made it bigger. I don't know. But Times New Roman, right? Why did you use Times New Roman? Whatever. So if you put your name in 16 font and bold print, the brokerage name can't be in 10 font non-bold. Same size and same prominence. Ideally, I would like to see the brokerage name a little bit bigger, just to play it safe, right? I'm overly cautious. Crazy story, quick one. When I coached high school football, we used to run motion all the time. I was an offensive coordinator. We called the offense, ran motion a lot because it confuses kids. It actually confuses guys in the NFL. It really confuses kids, right? So we would run motion, but you can't turn upfield before the ball is snapped. It's illegal motion. You get a penalty for that. So what we would do is we would tell people on the snap of the ball, I wanted everybody that was in motion to take one step backwards, just to play it safe. Because the last thing you want to do is run somebody in motion and then you hit a big play and it's a touchdown, everybody's happy, and there's a flag because they turned upfield too fast. So their first move is always one step back. That's how I did it. I don't have to, but that's what I did. So how does that relate to real estate? Well, it says here, same size and prominence, but bigger is okay. If one is bigger than the other, it's the brokerage name and number is the bigger one. If you do it opposite of that, you're violating the code, which can open you up for fines and penalties. And you don't want that because they do add up. Now, internet advertising and web pages. This is where it gets really weird. The commission has developed a policy to guide advertising procedures on the internet. What needs to be there? The firm's name is registered on the license. If the internet activity is a licensee, the firm's name must appear along with the licensee's name. So you can have your own website as a realtor, but the brokerage you work at, their name has to appear on that website too. I said if you're not on Facebook, get a Facebook account, because that's where all the old people are now. And the old people are the ones that have money and buy houses. One nice thing about creating a Facebook business page, they kind of handle a lot of this regulatory stuff for you. Joe Smith, realtor, ABC real estate, they know it. They do it automatically. It's kind of nice, right? So I'm a big fan of the Facebook business page. It kind of covers you on some of these advertising and web page rules. Ethical marketing. Advertisement of lotteries, contests, prizes, certificates, lots, and gifts. According to Section 604 of RELRA and 35306 of the regulations, advertisements for the solicitation or sale of real estate that employ lotteries or contests or offer prizes, certificate, gifts, or free lots must contain the following: a description of each prize, certificate, gift, or lot offered, the prerequisites for receiving the awards, the limitation on the number of awards that you can get, a fair market value, not a suggested retail value of each award, and the odds of winning or receiving an award. It gets tricky. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Sometimes I'll see people put this out there. They're trying to get followers. We're in the followers business, right? I want people to follow my page. I want people to subscribe to the podcast. I want people to share my stuff, right? So sometimes you'll see people say, hey, you know what? If you follow my real estate page, I'm going to give out 4 tickets to the Bloomsburg Fair. But you have to follow my page. Well, that's really tricky, right? Because how do you meet all these requirements? What are the odds of winning that award? I don't know. It depends how many people follow. If you're giving out 1 award and 10 people follow, you have a 1 in 10 chance. If 557 people follow, you have a 1 in 550. So how do you put that out there preemptively? It's really tricky, right? So how do you get people to follow your page? Look, I see people do that all the time. You'd be surprised. Follow my page for a chance to win ABC. You know, the Real Estate Commission has rules against that. What's the easiest way to get people to follow your page? Do really great content. What's really great content? Right now, it's not debatable. The best content to put out there right now is video. It gets the biggest engagement by a mile. The best thing about video is that it stays there forever as well. Like if you have a YouTube channel and you post 1,000 videos and you don't post another one for the next 5 years, those 1,000 videos are still there. And they stay there as your own little personal billboard. When people say to me, Dave, you think I should advertise on a billboard? I say no, because I have 50 of them in the office. They're for sale signs. That's the best billboard in the real estate business. Sign in the ground, for sale, with your name on it. Great, that's a great billboard, right? So like, what content do you put out there? Video content's big. It works. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Dave, I hear it all the time. Usually from the girls, right? I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. What about my hair? It doesn't matter. Because I got news for you about the way you look and sound. It is the way you look and sound. Can't change it, right? Like if you're like, oh, I hate my voice. Well, it's your voice, man. I don't know what to tell you. You can't pick it, you know? You don't think I wake up every day wishing I was a little better looking? Of course I do, right? Would it make my life easier? Probably. But this is how I look. This is how I sound. I can't change it. I mean, I guess you could. Really expensive, I would assume. But like, you have to get over that. You have to get over that. So if you want to make a good impression on people, do video. It works tremendously. Sometimes you'll say, well, Dave, I'm a new realtor. What do I talk about? Literally anything. The biggest thing that I see people, they get in their own way all the time. They say, well, Dave, I don't know what to talk about. Is it important to get pre-approved to buy a house? Oh, yeah, definitely. Talk about that. Yeah, but Dave, everybody knows that. No, they don't. See, once you start working in the industry, you start to think the things that you do every day that everybody knows it. They don't. I'm sure that there's some financial planner out there that can tell you something. One piece of advice I got a long time ago from a guy, he goes, you want to have success in the stock market? Yep. How do I do it? Never buy an individual stock. I said, well, why? It's too hard. They go up, they go down. If you want to play it safe but still get better investments than like a CD at the local branch, buy an index fund. Like, oh, that makes sense. Like in what? I don't know, technology? You think technology is going to be? Yeah, buy that. And you get a bunch of stocks, one fund. Chances are it's going to perform well. Now, for me, when I heard that advice, it blew me away. I was like, whoa. For people who work in that industry, that's the dumbest advice, like the simplest advice you could give. You know, so I say that a lot with realtors. Dave, I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to put out there. Just basic stuff. Because you know it, but it doesn't mean somebody else knows it. Right? Like, if I wanted to plant a garden right now, I'd probably look up someone who does it and see what they do. And the stuff that they're doing to them is very easy. But to me, it would be cutting edge. Because I don't plant a garden. Right? So when you get your license, if you want people to follow your pages and all this, and you do, by the way, you do want that, do video. It's the number one thing that you can do. I tell everyone on the planet to do it. Almost no one does. Because they don't like the way they look, or they don't like the way they sound, or they're unsure about their hair, or they've got some other weird thing that holds them back from doing it. You got to get over that. You have to get over that. You know? And it got to the point where so much like, I started the podcast. I said, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to talk to people about this anymore. I'm going to do it. So I did. And I invest a lot of money in the podcast. People will say, here's the other, like I choose to do it that way. You could do videos with your phone. That's totally fine. I choose to do it in the podcast. People say, how much money do you pay for the podcast? I say, well, a good amount of money. How much money do you make from it? I go, I have no idea. What do you mean? I don't know how much I make from the podcast. Well, how do you know it's a good investment? I'm 100% sure it's a good investment. Well, Dave, you spend money on it and you don't know how much you make. Tell me again, how could that be a good investment? Well, because a few months ago, I hired a guy Remember I say, when you get your license or when you pass your exams, go interview at multiple offices. See where you're going to fit. See where it's going to work. I interviewed a guy, came to my office. He goes, I'd like to have an interview with you. Called me on the phone. I said, sure. Set it up. Comes in on a Monday. Meets me. Great kid. I really liked him. At the end of the conversation, I said, buddy, I hope you decide to come on board. What's your plan? He goes, I have 2 more interviews. I said, all right, well, when you're done, call me. He said, okay. 2 hours later, he called me. He goes, I canceled those interviews. Will you bring me on? I was like, sure I will. I was thrilled. I said, hey, what made you, decide on just not even doing the other interviews? He goes, well, look, he goes, I'll be honest with you. He goes, he's a young kid. He's only 18. I think he might have turned 19. But he goes, my dad and I subscribe to your podcast. I'm older than his dad, by the way, which super hurt my feelings. But he goes, my dad and I, we actually subscribe to your podcast. So I know I just met you, but I feel like I already know you. So then I came for the interview, and it felt really good, so I want to work there. I brought him on board, and he's already sold some houses, and he's got a few more deals coming. So how much do I make on the podcast? I don't know. But I know I have one really good agent, right? And I go out there and I try to get a listing, and I say, look, you got to list your property with me. And they say, well, how come? I say, because I do things other people don't. Oh yeah, like what? Here, let me send you the next 4 videos of my last 4 listings. And they look at them and they're like, whoa, those are great. Maybe that gets me a listing that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. How much do I make? I don't know. Now look, I'm all in on this stuff, right? Pretty obvious, right? But do video. And maybe someday you'll want to do a podcast. Maybe someday you'll want to have something professional and whatever. But just start by just telling people a little bit about you and the job. People want to work with people that they know and trust. If they see you on video, they feel like they know you, even if they don't. Right? People will walk up to me like, that's where you want to get to. I promise you, that's where you want to get to. And it's starting to happen to me more now, which is actually super cool. But this is the point where you want to get to. You want to get to the point where you're going to meet someone, or someone's going to bump into you at the grocery store, and they're going to go, hey, you're that guy who does the real estate videos, or hey, you're the girl who sells all those houses. And you don't know who that person is, you're winning. Trust me. Probably way more than you even realize. Right? I started my podcast back in March, and now I'm getting to the point where I was at a Halloween party at a local club that I'm a part of, and I saw a guy that I haven't seen in a while, and he goes, dude, you're all over my feed. He goes, how many videos do you do? I'm like, a lot, like 1 a day at least. He goes, dude, I see them all the time. They're awesome. Keep it up. I'm like, cool. You know what? If he wants to buy or sell a house, there's a pretty good chance I'm getting that business. When am I going to get it? I don't know. The point is, if you don't start putting that stuff in the bank, you never get there. The hardest part of anything that you're doing is starting. Right? So like, if you think about that, you're here now. This wasn't easy. This is hard. What you're doing right now, it's hard. You guys are adult learners. You already went to high school. Some of you went to college. Some of you have degrees. Some of you may have a better degree than I have. You worked all day, and now you're here. And you're all sitting there, and you all have 100 other things that you could be doing right now, but you choose to come here. That's hard. It's really hard. But you're trying to make a difference. So if you're willing to do this, because the first day of class is tough. You got to walk in, you don't really know anybody, and you don't know if I'm going to be awesome, or you don't know if I'm going to suck, and you don't know if you're going to have fun, or you don't know if this is going to be torture. But you chose to come here, and most of you keep coming back. That's good. If you could do this, you could do video. It is by far the number one thing you could do. It's by far the biggest marketing spend is what I spend on video production. I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't do it myself, if I didn't believe in it myself. But I'm telling you, just get out there and do it. Even if it's just your closest circle at first. Hey, I saw that video, it looked really great. Oh, thanks. Keep doing it. You know, and Bill will tell you the numbers on some of these podcasts, and I say it all the time. I'm actually attracted to things where most people fail. Because most people fail because they quit. And I think, what are the numbers? Like 2 million podcasts on Apple Podcasts, right? And it's like 25% make it past episode 3. Like 1% of all podcasts ever started get to episode 20. I hear that, I'm like, I got to do that. Because if I'm competing, one, I think I'm pretty good at what I do. But two, now if I'm competing against people that are willing to quit, I'm going to wreck this thing. That's how my mind works. There's 800 realtors in Luzerne County. Count on your fingers right now so I could see them. How many people do you know put out real estate videos? There's 800 realtors. How many of them are you watching do videos right now? 1? 2? So you're going to get your license. You're going to be brand new. I joke around. I say there's a realtor behind every tree in Pennsylvania. Why would someone want to work with you and not one of them? Which, by the way, we'll talk about that more. But you should have an answer to that. Why work with me when you could? What are you going to do that's going to be different? Because Susie down the street, she's been selling houses for 35 years. And she knows all there is to know. How do you compete with her? You do things she's not doing. Because she's still running ads in the newspaper. Or sticking her business cards at her beauty salon, which isn't a bad idea. But there's a little more to it than that. So as you become a new realtor, the one thing that you can do day one that will separate you from everyone else, post a video. No one's doing it. Is there anyone here that knows 5 people locally that does real estate videos? 3. 1 person, maybe. 2.5, right? No one's doing it. You can win there. Do it. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. Like, start now. Dave, I'm not even a realtor yet. I know. Are you doing anything that most people wouldn't do? Absolutely. You're sitting here in a class at 9:30 on a Monday night. Pop a video out there. Hey, you know what? Halfway through my real estate classes. Can't wait until I get my license. Post, look, if you're on Facebook, post that tonight. Right? If you can, whatever. Maybe you can't because you're in the witness protection program, whatever. But if you're not, post that.
But you can even start just putting the location here.
Yeah, you can put the location here. Yeah. But like I'm just saying, like you can say like halfway through my real estate classes,
Right.
can't wait to get licensed. Just see the comments that you get. Oh my God, I didn't know. That's awesome. Good luck. Oh, you're going to be great. Blah, blah, blah. Get that conversation started. On Wednesday, it's going to be 148 degrees for October. It's like 70, which is about that. But stand out in front of that sign out there. It's a big sign. Hey, I'm about to take another real estate class. In just a few weeks, I'll have my license. Stand out in front of that thing. Wait, do it on video. Literally, hold your phone, just like that. Hey, I'm taking another real estate class. I'm almost finished. Oh my God, that's awesome. Where are you taking class? Hey, I thought about it. Oh, really? Hey, I know someone who wants to buy a house. Tell me when you get your license. I guarantee you those things pop up in your comments. Guarantee. If you just tell people what you're doing, they want to get involved. Like I see people post this every day. Started a new job at the post office, 172 comments. Awesome. Way to go. Good for you. Hey, do you like your job at the post office? No, I hate it. It sucks. Believe it or not, just by being here, you're in a position where a lot of people want to be. Just start telling people what you're doing. You'd be shocked how many people want to get involved in that. Hey, that's awesome. You know what? I've been thinking about buying a house. Let me know when you have your license. That's really good. Start today. No one, I'm telling you, you know it, because you're on you guys are all on Facebook and Instagram, all sorts of, no one's doing it. So start doing it. I think you'll be blown away with how good that goes for you. So that's my little take there on marketing. Obviously, ethical marketing is what we're looking for. Last thing, 203, and then we're done. Harassment. Don't do this. A licensee, whether acting on behalf of a prospective buyer or not, must not solicit the sale or other disposition of real estate with such frequency as to amount to clear harassment of the owner of the property. Look, this is almost an unneeded paragraph. If there's one thing realtors don't do is they don't follow up enough. All right? But if you're the one that keeps doing it, like if someone tells you, and usually that's what I tell people, say, how often do I have to contact a lead? Until they tell you to stop. Once they tell you to stop, stop. But like sometimes you have to contact someone 6, 7, 8 times before you actually get a contract with them. It's okay. Follow up is big. Panic selling, 303. Literally one of the most disgusting things in the business. But you have to know this. I guarantee it's a test question, the whole paragraph. Section 35303 of the regulations. Panic selling is defined as frequent efforts to sell residential real estate in a particular neighborhood due to the fear of declining real estate values when that fear is not based on facts relating to the intrinsic value of the real estate. Federal law describes this conduct as blockbusting. Guaranteed test question. The Commission regards any attempt by a licensee to bring about panic selling in order to gain profit as an act of bad faith under Section 604 of RELRA. Proof of systemic solicitation of sales listings may be considered sufficient but not conclusive evidence of an attempt to bring about panic selling. Blockbusting. Don't do it. Usually people do panic selling because they say some undesired element is moving in. Don't do it. 1, it's super slimy. 2, you'll lose your license. But people will say, hey, you better sell your house because you have all these people that you don't like, and put in whatever people that move in that people don't like. All these people are moving into the neighborhood. You don't want to be the last one here. I know what happens. Don't do it. All right? I have turned listings down because of some things that the people selling their house have told me. Hey, I want you to sell my house, just not to those people. Put in whichever group of people that you want. I just say, look, good luck selling your house, but I'm not your guy. Oh, Dave, I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. I'm zero tolerance on stuff like that. For me, I just won't work with you. Good luck selling your house, but I'm not going to do it. I've had people tell me that. People, like, you'd be surprised. Like, and you know what's weird? Sometimes it's going to be people that you knew your whole life that'll tell you something, and you're like, what? Yeah, you know, I can't sell it to those people. All the neighbors will be mad at me. What? I've had people, I'm telling you, I've had people that I know and like tell me that, where I've said, I can't sell your house. Don't do it. Don't get involved in that. It's one of those things. I talked about ethics. The thing with ethics is, once you break once, it's over. It's gone. It's like, you know, when you open up those jars and the lid pops, you can't unpop it, right? It just popped now. Don't budge on ethics. Don't. And you'll be a lot more successful in this industry. But panic selling, blockbusting, guaranteed test question. And the very last one, promotional land sales. Let's see, where is it? Middle of the paragraph. Promotional real estate does not involve fewer than 50 lots or shares of land less than 25 acres. I don't think you'll have to know that, but if you did have to know something about promotional land sales, that would be it. Guys, 12 is a monster. It's awful. It's a lot of work. almost, 98% of Unit 12 is important. Thanks for joining us for today's episode, everybody. If you want to hear more content, follow us at Real Estate Right Now Pod on YouTube. Once you're there, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to follow me directly, check me out. It's Dave Wychak at Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all the socials that you're already using.